dance for joy or lust or rain.
So welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, or should I say in this case non-sensible secondhand classics, the show where we take a car that's over 15 years old that you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. See if it stacks up. So this is a 2005 MG ZT 260, otherwise just known as an MG ZT V8, because the Rover 75 on which the ZT is based, the V8 version of that was just called the Rover 75 V8, and there's V8 badges all over this car on the exterior and interior, and there's no 260 badge, which is interesting. So this car was introduced in the autumn of 2003, and it represented an extraordinary kind of departure for a company like MG Rover to totally re-engineer a front-wheel drive platform as rear-wheel drive, and that is precisely what they actually did. Not only did they re-engineer a front-wheel drive transverse engine car with a longitudinal rear wheel drive layout, they got rid of the 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder engines that an MG ZT normally would have, and replaced them with a Ford modular V8 producing 256 horsepower, which is yeah, a bit different from normal. They only made under 1,000 of these. They didn't even quite make it to that. This is the most common type, the ZT Saloon. The Rover 75 V8s were less common, and the ZTTs or Touras, we're talking about 75, they were rarer than the Saloons. They were offered with both a 5-speed manual, such as this car, and an automatic. I can't remember if the manual was actually in the 75, I forget, but it's definitely in this. Going through the New Forest on this very nice autumn day, you can hear the sound of the engine just reverberating around the buildings, which is absolutely amazing. The clutch is quite heavy in this, and the gearbox, it does require quite a lot of sort of effort to actually physically move the gear stick, but that's really all part of the character of the car. It's not really a problem. I remember driving along these roads about 2.5 years ago in a Jaguar E-Type, and that also requires a bit of effort to drive. This is a bit easier, to be honest, really, but still very much a classic now. And well, can you buy one of these cars for under £5,000? If you're talking about a 4 or 6-cylinder ZT, then yeah, absolutely, you can buy one for under £1,000 sometimes. But these rare V8 engine rear-wheel drive examples, they kind of start at about £5,000. You can get one with an MOT if you're quite lucky for about that, but it'll be maybe a bit rusty, which is a thing to look out for on these cars, and it'll have some problems, but you can. This car did actually cost £5,000 a few years ago, but prices have increased since then. I'm not really surprised about that, particularly when you put your foot down and realise this car does 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. It also does about 20 miles per gallon or worse. So don't be kind of buying one of these if you need to save fuel. That would be for a type of ZT that we don't talk about on this channel. What we do talk about is some of the other engines available in the range. There was a 1.8 non-turbo K series with 120 horsepower. there were a couple of V6s. There was a 158 brake horsepower V6 that was used in the ZT160 until the middle of 2003. That was replaced by a 1.8 turbo K series about that time. Still badged as a ZT160. I've driven one of those on the channel actually, and a 120. And then we got to the ZT180, which was the 2.5 V6 with an automatic gearbox. And then the ZT190, which is one of the first cars I ever had on no budget reviews, actually in this colour, but a pre-facelift one. That was that V6 again with a manual gearbox and 190 horsepower. They're quite quick, those, actually. They're not as quick as this, but they are quite quick. In Australia, I think they had a ZT220, but they didn't sell them over here, of course. I always forget about that. But, you know, today we're in the rip-snorting V8, which makes almost 260 horsepower, and I couldn't be happier, to be honest. Lloyd Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. So we've come to a place called Hatchet Pond, which is just near Bewley. Unfortunately, there's a bit more traffic noise here than I remembered there being from the last time we came here to film a Jaguar E-Type in January 2020. Straight away you can see on this car that it does carry V8 badges on the outside. They're also on the inside, or we'll see a little bit later. Chrome mirror caps, of course. Nice big 80-inch wheels. Sort of later British with the racing emblem there. Strangely enough, it doesn't say ZT260 on the back. We've got the original dealer plates on this car from SMC Rover in Slough. By the time that this car was sold in December 2005, MG Rover had been dead for some time. It seems SMC Rover actually did register a lot of these cars after the bankruptcy, and this is only one of about 3 I think I've had on my channel that have been like that. See if we can get into the boot, which you know, isn't actually the most straightforward thing. I think we're going to have to go and use the button down here. There we go. Not the most practical shape. You could get these in the ZT2 form, that was the estate. I think there's probably a little bit less room in here, that just might be my imagination actually, than the standard front wheel drive ones of these. If we lift up this carpet, we'll see underneath we've got all kinds of things in here. Including the battery that's been moved under there. That's probably the main kind of change as well. Usually you'd be able to put a spare in there, but no, you can't do that in this one because that's where the battery sits. You'll see straight away that this car is actually just about to go off the road for a bit of restoration, so it's not maybe in the kind of best state at the moment, but this is actually the final day it's going to be on the road. I'm very privileged to be able to chance to drive this, because there are less than 1,000 of these ever made, which is makes them very rare. Little period disc there for the navigation system. Quite a shallow boot, long but shallow, and got the twin exhaust as well, which makes it sound very, very nice. As you can see, it is an SE model, 260 SE in monogram of Nocturne, as number 12 of 17 built. The saloon version of the ZT was the most common car of this body type with the V8 engine. There were far fewer 75s made, and the estates, both the 75 Tourer and the ZTT were the least common of the sort of under 1,000 cars that they've made with this engine. You can see the front grille is a bit different from the standard ones, although you could get this as an option actually as well. And I think people do actually fit even the later ones, sort of Chinese made MG7s I think, and the Roway 750s, you can actually fit the front end of these as well. This car is going to have a new front bumper though. The fit isn't great on this one. It had an accident a long time ago, just after it was new actually, and so it's not got the best fit. I just thought I'd sort of point that out. And yes, it does need repainting, but that's pretty normal. The one thing I'm looking forward to though is the interior. This is not the original interior the car came with. It's actually not a beige leather interior. It looks like a beige leather interior a little bit, but it's not. It's a cream leather interior. One thing straight away you notice with this car is the lack of kind of room in comparison to a standard 4 or 6 cylinder ZT. The centre console is much wider, and here sits the 5-speed manual. You could get an automatic as well on both the 75. I think you could get a manual 75. I know you can get automatic 75 V8, and you could also get an automatic ZT. I can't remember 100% if you get a manual 75 V8. There weren't actually that many made. I think it was about 200 or something of those. Cruise control, because this is an SE model, which is nice. That's something I like. There's a little button there for it. We've actually got heated seats in this, although they don't work apparently, and neither does the heater. The ventilation works, the sunroof also doesn't work, so I'm not going to be fiddling with that. It's just typical old cars, isn't it? You know, think that sunroof's not working. But other than that, and this V8 badge here, there's not that many kind of changes from the standard ZT. And as I've said before, we've had 3 ZTs on the channel already on No Budget Reviews. Crazy dome light still there. The cup holder, which is only this side. I used to think that actually there were supposed to be 2 cup holders, but no, you only get one, which comes out like that. Oh, that was a bit stiff, that one. It's like that's very heavy clutch in this as well. Just again, the sort of standard ZT or 75 bits. I used to think that these switches should really come with a bit more sort of chrome or something to make them more exciting, but they don't. No wood in here, of course, because it's a ZT, it's not a 75. Whether or not that's a good or bad thing is up to your preference, really. I do like a nice beige leather interior in wood, so I know what I prefer. One thing you'll see here is that classic sort of BMW product. Obviously BMW did finance the development originally of this car in the 1990s when they owned the Rover Group. Pixels have gone, and they definitely have. Obviously you can get that fixed. This car's got an aftermarket stereo in it, a double DIN unit. That's because the sat nav's not working properly. I'm sure if I put that into another mode it would sort of work, but yeah, it doesn't work properly at the moment. Idiot-proof climate controls in here, very easy to operate. I think we'll turn off the recirculation button, it's really not what we want. These stalks I don't think are off any other car. This ignition barrel I think is kind of similar to a Mini. But by this stage, as you can see, the key is completely sort of unbranded. There's no MG or Rover logo on it. This might even be an aftermarket key, to be honest. It looks like a Renault key. Right, I think we'd better test the secret mission documents, viewers. No, that's it's not going in, is it, viewers? Never mind. Can't remember everything, can you? I suppose we can try putting it there. Oh, fits nicely. It also would fit in the door. Excellent. Right, let's have a look underneath the bonnet, shall we? So this is the 4.6 litre, just get my shadow out of the way, Ford modular V8 I think these are called. It's only got 2 valves per cylinder, and it's still an overhead valve engine actually, this. but it's longitudinally mounted and the car's rear-wheel drive, which really sets it apart from every other ZT or 75 that was made with the 4 and 6 cylinder engines. It's actually quite accessible to do servicing. It's actually more accessible than a KV6 engined one of these, which is remarkable. It's crazy that they totally transformed the layout of this car just to make less than 1,000 of this type in the end, both amongst the ZTs and 75s. That coolant reservoir looks very familiar though. I think they did use the existing one. But yes, engine all sort of at the back there. I don't actually remember if you've got this Mustang logo to put in your engine or not, or just every one I've seen of these has had that added later on. Answers to that in the comments section below. Right viewers, this electric seat actually doesn't move at the moment, so this is just how it is, although the driving position's okay for me. Again, not a huge amount of room in the back of the ZT or 75 saloon. There just never was, which was always a bit annoying. Headlining's perished a bit, standard MG Rover thing, I'm afraid. We do get 2 switches for the rear courtesy light, which is nice, and if I move the bag out of the way, and also some shiny stuff there, we can feel the cream leather armrest with pen holders and cup holders and things, and creaky leather and all sorts of exciting things. It's funny how the back of the seats is kind of similar to that obviously needs a bit of a retrim as well, but I put it back. Similar to the back of the sort of later 45 seats as well, which are like that. No storage bins at all on these. I can't remember if they were deleted as part of Project Drive or not, or if they just didn't have any. My suspicion is they didn't have any at all. But yes, once you're actually in here, it's not too bad. Although this droopy headliner means that it's actually brushing down on my head. Right, I think it's time to go for another drive, viewers. I'm delighted to say that MG Rover content on this channel is still sponsored by Discount MG Rover Spares, or DMGRS, and here I am at their offices just near Southampton. So if you need parts for your 45, ZS, ZT, or any other model from the MG Rover era, and actually a little bit before that, then I'll put a link in the video description below. But my car's actually got 2 exclusive DMGRS solutions to it. It's got a metal thermostat housing, which is for the KV6 engine, and it's also got an upgraded heater resistor. But there are loads of other unique things. You can get the Sheddist kit, which is for manual 45s and ZS's. Lots of other things as well. And I'm very grateful to Scott, Max and Matt at DMGRS for continuing to help keep this car on the road by offering me some discounted parts, which is wonderful. So don't forget to visit DMGRS by clicking the link in the video description below. To drive, it feels very, very composed. The car feels physically very heavy. These are quite heavy cars, and I was afraid that on these 18-inch wheels the ride would be really, really firm, but it isn't. It's actually really smooth. Obviously a 75 would be even smoother than this because they do have a different suspension setup, but steering feels good. It's not overly assisted. I wish I could adjust this driving position, but this seat's actually broken, so I can't do that. But I can imagine with this cruise control and the amazing amount of torque from this engine, so much more torque than any KV6 engine ZT, that you just sort of lollop along. I mean, I'm in 4th gear doing 40 miles an hour and I'm doing 1600 RPM. It's just crazy. But the characteristic of this engine, which is not a multi-valve engine, it's only 2 valves per cylinder, it's got overhead valves, means that it just produces an awful lot of torque. And I'm sure people who enjoy Mustangs. I've personally never driven a Mustang. Enjoy the engine for that reason as well. It does make a fantastic noise as well. It's helped by obviously having a twin branch exhaust in the back. It just feels very, very solid, and you know, unlike a 75, which does roll a lot in corners because it's so softly set up. It obviously depends what you want. If you want the ultimate luxury, that's the setup you want. This, just go around this roundabout, it feels very good. It's a very well judged suspension setup. The engineers who actually worked on this really knew how to make a car ride and handle really, really well. That goes for so many other products. 45 V6 like I own is the same as MG ZS 180, ZR. It's amazing what they were able to do with a very limited budget. And even the X-Power SV, that's a car that I would hope to be able to drive at some point. I'm not sure if I'd be able to, but you know, this has the same setup really. It's got the same engine in it, and you can even get more power. In fact, you get more power in one of these. If we're going to make a 385 version of this, and I've even seen 400 versions out there, but I think they're slightly aftermarket. Certainly, Mr. Martin from JMR Cars driven the ZT400. 385, I think I've seen one of those, and it has an extreme sort of body kit on it, but this doesn't. It depends what you want really. I'm more of a kind of, I'd say a 75 person. I prefer the Rovers, I just prefer the kind of image of them really. And I prefer just the setup and being a bit more comfortable. This is still one heck of a car, and I can see why Scott, who is the owner of Discount Rover MG Spares DMG RS, who's kindly let me have a go in this car, absolutely loves it. So viewers, the MG ZT260, is this a car that you should consider with your hard-earned budget of up to £5,000 as a non-sensible second-hand classic? Well, I don't see why not. We do have some sort of familiar problems with these, such as rust and galvanic corrosion, where the aluminium suspension components meet the sort of steel monocoque of the car, and you know, handbrakes aren't particularly good in these sometimes, and some of the gauges don't work and all that sort of stuff. But my goodness me, in order to get a powerful rear-wheel drive V8 engined saloon for under £10,000 for a good one, there aren't sort of very many that will offer this kind of performance and this kind of experience. And I for one have thoroughly enjoyed myself. I'm very grateful to Scott for letting me have a go in his pride and joy. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for watching this episode of Non-Sensible Secondhand Classics. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below, and no doubt next time we'll have something that's a little bit less extravagant.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Every blue day, every day with blue skies.